Hello again. You are in the right place. This is Tribe Company Culture Academy, and we're in course 1. And that's going to be all about company culture, sort of in broad terms, general terms, especially why is it important and why should leaders today, CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, care about company culture? Why is it important at all? Before we get into too much detail, there's been a lot of buzz about company culture. So it is probably important, but what does it really do for your business? The whole tribe framework is based on research, so it seemed like a good opportunity right off the bat to introduce a statistic. This is something that we repeat over and over because we feel like it's a really important way of showing business leaders how much company culture should matter to them. This info comes from Cotter and Heskett. They found data-driven evidence to show that company culture is a strong predictor of financial performance. Crazy, right? You've probably never heard that before, and it doesn't seem to be widely talked about, but you can see from the table that when they looked at comparable companies, some who weren't focused on culture and some who were, the results are actually pretty staggering. So now many business leaders today, they claim to be data-driven, but a lot of people assume that that only means business metrics. And what's really interesting that we found when we were putting together the Tribe Company Culture Academy is that there is a mountain of data out there. There are tons of researchers who are looking at how do we help people perform well in the workplace? How do we shape the environments of the workplace so that we can get different things? And what they had found is strong cultures can get companies more revenue. We just sort of saw some of those statistics, but also more innovation, which is so important in today's landscape, especially if you're in a competitive industry. It helps employees to be more productive and to companies to work more efficiently towards their outcomes. Also something that every leader is interested in increasing. And more retention. Employee retention has become a huge topic. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go. But these are just a few of the handful of things that having a strong culture can actually do for your business, backed up by actual data. These are not assumptions. These are not just stories that individual leaders are telling. These are things that social scientists and other people have gone and actually looked and researched and made studies out of to come to these conclusions. So how does it work? How do we go from company culture to that becoming a predictor for, strong finances as well? Well, this is how the flow of impact works. The outcome of pretty much every business is to make money, grow, and not to go out of business. Even not-for-profits need to have somewhat similar goals because they can only exist if there's money for its functions, right? So what are the things that contribute to a business making money and keeping its money? Great strategies, at least decent strategies. You need to develop a good product or service. You need to find fit in the market. You need to be able to find and sell to customers. And there are other things that affect the bottom line too, like customer satisfaction, so that you have lower churn and more lifetime value. Plus things like employee retention that I just mentioned. Having to rehire and retrain talent is very expensive. So if those things level up to getting you the business results that you want, how do we get these strategies and other factors? Well, you have to have somebody to fulfill them, right? People need to actually do the work. Yes, we have, some augmentation from AI coming in these days, but most companies still have people working for them. So they make the product, they create the marketing, they sell, they do customer support and all kinds of functions for the business. And if they're going to contribute meaningfully, meaning we're actually talking about innovation and productivity and not just people coming butts in seats. Yes, we have employees, but they're not actually driven and motivated. How do we actually get that value exchange of meaningful work by giving people meaning in a business? These are the kinds of things that increase growth and revenue and longevity. So employees need to be productive, and in many types of businesses, at least some employees need to be innovative, which leads us to the question of how does a business have productive and innovative employees? Obviously, since we're in the Company Culture Academy, the answer is going to be company culture, right? We know this because someone who is high performing in one environment may switch to a different environment and not have the same outputs. So you've got the same person with the same capabilities. All you've done is change the environment and suddenly they're not performing as well. So if that's the only variable that changes, we can tell that environment impacts people's productivity. We see this in leadership, which is a huge part of company culture. Give an underperforming team to a good leader and the team will get better. But you put a good team in the hands of someone with poor leadership skills and they will not perform as well. So this is how the flow of impact works from company culture up to measurably different business results. When your employees are able to bring their drive and talents to work with less friction, your business will work better, which will create an impact on your company's growth. So that is the flow of impact from company culture to financial results. The impact of company culture only helps business goals when it's intentional and comprehensive, though. There's been a lot of buzz about company culture and even me talking about what those impacts means. Well, what is a strong culture? How do you define it? Thankfully, that's what this whole course is going to be about, is looking at those kinds of things. So when you take the time to define your culture model well and use it in everyday interactions right up to the strategic decision making, this is what becomes a win-win for everybody. And this is where the Tribe Company Culture Framework helps. It's going to help you as a founder, CEO, entrepreneur, leader come up with the culture model that works for your company. We're not going to tell you exactly what company culture looks like, but we are going to try to help you to understand the components that make it up. So we've grouped the sort of culture themes, if you want to call it, into three things: core, comms, and care. You can see them there a little bit bigger, and you can see that each of those three themes is broken down into its components. So there's 9 altogether. In the core elements, there are values, leadership, and psychological safety. The comms elements are feedback, idea flow, and transparency. And the care elements, decision-making, talent, and belonging. So throughout all of the courses that are going to come out from Tribe, we are going to be looking at each of these elements of the framework more closely. This is course number 1, so we're mostly looking at company culture from a generalized way, but course number 2 is going to be all about values. How do you create them? What are they good for? How do you and or your founding team come up with the right kind of values? And how do you frame them so they're actually useful? We're going to have a whole course on that. And then we will have a whole course on all the other 8 as well, individually, to help you to really unpack this. But for the rest of this course, we're just, like I said, going to look at company culture generally, starting with a better understanding of what exactly company culture is. So Sheldon will meet you in the next video. He's going to be unpacking a whole bunch of common misconceptions about company culture. So we're all starting from the same place of meaning when we go into defining what company culture is. He'll see you there.